everybody, it's Wendy, and today we're going to make a necklace using some products from the Cu'Rated bead box. So I did the unboxing yesterday. I will link that in the description box below the video. It was pretty this month, really pretty. So I've got a necklace idea, and I'm going to show you what you're going to need for it. And Cu'Rated bead box is a monthly subscription service. It's a great stash building box, I think, and it's delivered straight to your door for $20 a month, which is just a great deal. So this month we had these really pretty 12mm beads. Now they called these crimson. They are not crimson, they are purple or plum even. But anyway, I'm going to be using those, and I have added some beads from my own stash. So I've added in these little 6mm ones in the same color, and the reason for that is I wanted to bring down, I'm going to use these up the sides, and I wanted to bring the color down into the focal piece that we're going to do in the middle. So 6mm. Now you can use any pearls you've got, obviously. You don't have to use these colors, but that's what I'm doing. Okay, and then these are the Amethyst Chips that were in the box this month, which I think are really pretty. I did pick out a couple. There were a couple brown colored ones in there, and I pulled them out just because they kind of stood out like a sore thumb with all the purple and white and gray. But see, the Amethyst Chips are going to go in the middle, and that's what I wanted to bring this in. And then have these up the sides and some of the chips up the sides too. So that's why I'm using these 6mm pearls that aren't from the bargain, or aren't from the Cu'Rated bead box. But I thought that they tied things together really well, so that's what we're doing. And then, let's see, I've got some little rondelles here, some little sparkly, these are tiny, like 3mm. I don't know if I'll use them. I just kind of pulled them out just as they match, and I wanted to... We may want the sparkle in there. I don't know. We'll see how that goes as we work. Okay, I've got some ball head pins, and you're going to need some... You don't have to use ball head pins. You can use just regular head pins and make regular loops. But I think I'm going to use these ball head pins and make some wrap loops on the pearls that I'm put in there. The little 6mm pearls. Okay, I have a couple of lengths of Coriana chain. I probably will only need one of these, but I have two just in case. These are going to go up the sides. This is available on my website if you're interested in it. It is a beading chain. You can bead right on it. Most beads will fit right on it. Now, these won't, I know, but the pearls and everything else should. And I love this stuff. I just think it's very classy and pretty, and yeah, I love it. This is the platinum color. I've also got it in antique silver, gold, gunmetal, rose gold, this platinum, and then I have beading chain in antique copper and bronze, and it's about the same thing as this is. So the beading chain, it's a little rounder. It's not as flat, but it's basically the same thing. The mail has arrived already. It sure has. Man, that's early today. They don't usually come till 5 o'clock, and it's like 10. Okay, I'm using some jump rings, the jump rings in the Cu'Rated bead box this month. I'm using some of the crimp beads they sent. I am using a lobster claw that they sent in the box, and I've got 4 wire guardians from my own stash that I'm not using. The box didn't send wire guardians, but they send a great little findings packet. And then I've got a bunch of eye pins here, and I may use some regular head pins, not sure. He doesn't belong in there though. Let's put him up here where he goes. But I'll definitely be using some eye pins. All right, and your jewelry tools. And I think that's everything. If it's not, then we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay? So the first thing we're going to work on is our focal for the middle. Now, did I say I had tiger tail? I didn't. I have one piece of tiger tail. Now, they send tiger tail in this box. This tiger tail is just a piece I had extra in my stash, so that's why I'm using it. But they do send tiger tail in the box, but I don't need that big of a piece. So, and I'm actually going to cut this in half. So let me grab my cutters. I'm going to cut this in half, and I'll tell you how long it is when I'm done, because I'm not sure. All right. So this tiger tail looks to be about 5 inches. Let's see. Oh, no, it's longer than that. Okay. So I've got about... yeah, like a 7-inch piece. 2 7-inch pieces of tiger tail. So, you know, you can do that. You can do one, you can do two. You don't have to do, you can do longer, you can do shorter. It's totally up to you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of these pearls, and I think I will use some of these little sparkly rondelles just because it's going to give it some shine. And I'm going to put these on the ball head pin. So I'm going to do a rondelle and a pearl on this ball head pin. It's bent. There we go. And I will show you how I make my loops on these. I'm going to do a wrapped loop. So I'm just going to bend this at 90 degrees. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, bend that at 90 degrees. And I'm just going to take my round nose pliers, grab it in the bend, come up and over and around. Okay, so when you do that, you'll have what looks like a little bit of a question mark, sorta. Then I'm going to put my pliers in this way. They were this way. They were horizontal. I'm rotating them vertical, and I'm bringing this on around. So now I have a small loop. I'm going to grab that loop with my pliers. I am going to take my chain nose pliers, and I'm just going to wrap, okay? This does not have to be neat. You can make it neat if you want a nice, pretty little coil. You can definitely do that, but I'm just going to wrap it kind of messy. All right, and after you go around a couple of times, it's mainly for security, then you're just going to cut your wire. Just like that. And then you may have a little snag. If you can see, I've got a little snag out there. I'm just going to tuck my snag in. Whoops. Just like that. Okay, and there we have a little wrapped loop. Now see, these are going to go on this tiger tail, and I want them to kind of stick out because they're going to be mixed in with the chips. Okay, so I'm going to make some more of those. Some I'm going to do with the rondelle, some I'm going to do without. So this guy I'm just going to do without the rondelle, just the little ball on the end. Those little tiny rondelles, I just want them really for some added sparkle. Bend this at 90 degrees. Up, over, and around. Rotate your pliers up. Go underneath. There you've got your little loop. And then you're just going to take your chain nose pliers and wrap. Okay, very, very easy. These are super easy. This is like one of the only things I can do with wire wrapping. I'm just not good with it, but I can make these little doodads right here. These are simple. All right, so there we go. And I'm just going to make a few more of those. I'm probably going to do about, I don't know, 10 or 15 of them. About that many, however many that is. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Yeah, and I'll throw one more in for 16. Okay, so I'm going to make 16 of these little wrap loops. So go ahead and do that and then come right on back. Okay, so I have all of my 16 little links, or whatever, not links, but dangles, drops, whatever you want to call them, made. And I did leave out a couple of things that we need. We need some clamshell covers, so I've got these. These are on my website as well. And I'm using some crimp tubes instead of crimp beads on this tiger tail, just because I feel like they're a little more secure. And I just want to make sure that this doesn't come apart on me. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to go ahead and thread on this middle piece here. And so I am going to go ahead and crimp this one in closed, just so that it's not open and everything can't fall off. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take, let's see, do I want to use, I'm trying to decide if I think I'm just going to use crimp beads and wire guardians instead of the clamshell covers on this. Okay, so I'm going to take my crimp tube and put it on my tiger tail, and then I'm going to take my wire guardian and put it on next. Now the wire guardian, if you're not familiar, it has these little channels that you put your wire up through, and this keeps your wire from fraying or just getting messed up with use. So it's just a little guardian thing. That's why it's called a wire guardian. So we're going down through the other channel. We're trying to anyway. Oh my goodness. There. Okay. And I even have my glasses on. Okay. And then we're going down through the crimp tube again. So here's what you should have. You should have your wire guardian on here, your crimp bead with your wire going up and over and down this one and then back through the crimp bead. Okay. Now I'm going to scoot this because I don't want to waste that much wire on the end. These are a little tricky sometimes to work with. All right, so you scoot your wire guardian to where the wire's not hanging over the end, it's in the channel. And then I like to take my pliers and just squish this guy together. I think it looks better if it's bent in like that. All right, now, it is very important when you're crimping that your wires not be crossed, okay? So I have to make sure that my wires are laying side by side, and they are. So I'm going to scoot this up again. Making sure to keep my wires side by side. And I'm going to crimp this down. So I'm going to take my little crimping tool, lay the crimp tube in the channel, and still keeping my wires not crossed. They're just side by side. I'm going to crimp that down. And when you do that, it puts one wire in each of these little channels. Okay? And then you turn this vertical and you close it up in one of these little things up here in the front. Well, except for I didn't do it. Let's put it right here. There we go. And just press it down, make sure it's really tight. And then you'll have this little folded over crimp, and that's what's supposed to happen. Give it a tug test. Make sure it's not going to come loose. And now we're going to string on our things. So I'm going to put one of the pearls on. And then I'm just going to start picking up some of these pieces of the amethyst chips. Okay? No specific order, no rhyme or reason to it. And I can't even find the hole in this one. There we go. Just picking them up and putting them on. Now I do want to make sure that these go up next to my wire guardian. Let's see, let's do this big chunk. Okay, and then I'm going to add another. Let me get those in there. I like for the wire to go through some of the beads. Just feel like it gives a little extra security. I may do another one of these before I put my next pearl on. Okay, there we go. Now we're going to put a pearl on. Okay, and then I'm just going to continue putting on the chips and the pearls. Like I said, in no specific order, just kind of random. I may leave these white ones out. I don't really want the white ones in there. And Sadie's barking. She heard Chris's notification on the computer down there, which sounds like our doorbell. Okay, I'm going to put another pearl. And as you can see, it's kind of just clustering up here, just in a little bunch, and that's what you want. Okay, and just keep on adding on the chips and the pearls. Let's do this guy. Add another pearl. And you want these to bunch up. You don't want there to be a lot of space between anybody, so make sure as you're doing it, you're kind of bunching them up. Okay, I'll do another pearl. I may have made way too many of the pearls, but that's okay. I can use them for something else. Too many of the dangles, I mean. Okay, that looks like the hole. There it is. Okay. I'll do another one. And I'm just continuing to layer these on, and sometimes it's hard to find the little hole in it. You have to feel around with your wire. Okay, so that is that long. I'm going to add another pearl. Just trying to see how long I want to make it. That's pretty good. I'm going to add a couple more chips on and then go ahead and be done with this one. Some of these chips you'll find are drilled really badly. Like this is right on the edge right there. I'm going to go ahead and put him on and hope that he'll survive, but he may fall off. Okay, one more. And a pearl. Okay, and that's the length that I'm going to make this. So let me measure it and I'll tell you how long that is. It is about, it's going to be about a little over 4 inches by the time we get the end on this one. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to take our wire guardian, and I've lost my crimp tube that was in there somewhere. I'll grab another one. So our crimp tube goes on first, then our wire guardian, right in there. And then you may have to pull it up here to get your wire back through the crimp, and then we can tighten it. So just going to pull it up here, go through the other side of the wire guardian. Pull that, if I can get it. Okay. And I'm going to go back down through this crimp. Right here. And then through a couple of the beads, if I can. Okay, and I did. So here my tiger tail's coming out over here. I'm just going to pull everything tight. Now again, you want this to be kind of stiff, tight. You don't want it flopping around a lot. So I'm going to make sure that, and it's really hard to tell at this point whether your wires are crossed or not. You just kind of have to try to make sure they're not. That's the best I can tell you, because you can't really see at this point. Alright, so I'm going to lay him in here. I'm going to pull this tight again. Put my crimp tube in the little channel. It's wanting to crimp my wire guardian. Or this bead is in the way. It's a little fiddly. Just have to do the best that you can do. Alright, there we go. Lay that in the channel. And crimp it down if you can get it to lay in the channel, which I'm having trouble. I know I shouldn't have put that pearl on the end. That's the problem. Well, really any of the beads were going to be in the way, but just be patient and you will eventually get it. There we go. I got it. See? Takes a little patience and a little frustration, but you can do it. All right, and then we're going to turn the things vertical and try to get in there well enough. There we go. To fold it over. Okay. And I think, let's give it a tug test. I think it's pretty good. All right. Now, good Lord, that was a little tedious on that one end. We're going to trim this off. And here we have our little cluster. Now we're making another one, okay? I know, you're like, no, please. Yeah, we are. We're going to make one more. So go ahead and do the same thing that you just did. Try to stagger things. Like, you don't want all your pearls to be in the exact same place, okay? So try to stagger it a little. So I'm just going to take my crimp tube, put it on there, put my wire guardian on here, go up and around the channel and down. And I've got plenty of wire. I mean, I had to trim quite a bit off there, so I'm just gonna, I am not gonna waste it, but I can have a little room for leeway here because I'm having trouble today with these little wire guardians and crimp tubes. There we go. All right, so scoot him up in there. There we go. Okay, now let's scoot this one up. This is not even the hard one yet. The hard one's the other side. Let's squeeze that together. And I'm going to crimp it. Trying to make sure my wires are not crossed, that they're side by side. And crimp it right down. And then turn it vertical and crimp that as well. Just like that. Okay, tug on it. It's good. All right, so string on the same amount and crimp your other end closed and come right back. Okay, so I'm here back and I've got my two little pieces. Now one turned out a little bit longer than the other, but I think that's going to be okay. You can even take these and twist them if you want. I may do that, and it gives it kind of, I just want that full fluffy look right there. Okay, so if you take them and kind of twist them up, that's what they're going to look like. Now we're going to make a few connector pieces. We're going to use some eye pins, and if I can find some that are not like crinkled up really bad. Here we go. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we're going to use some eye pins. I've got head pins mixed in with these too, and that's bugging me. It's bothering my OCD. Okay. So let's scoot these over for just a minute. And we're going to grab our big pearls now. All right. And let's see how I want to do this. I'm going to do, I wonder if these small rondelles will fit on here, on these eye pins. Probably not. That one doesn't want to. Sometimes you'll find one with a bigger hole that will. Okay, so like that one will. So I'm going to do him, and then this big bead, and then I'm going to do some of my chips. Just 2 or 3 chips here. One, let's see, 2. Let's do one more. It's really hard to find the holes in those sometimes. So 3 chips there. Then I'm going to put another of the big pearls. Am I? Maybe not. That looks weird. Let's do 2 chips. And then a pearl. That looks better, but it still looks weird. This chip is too fat. This one is. I need flatter chips. All right, let's use some of the flatter versions here. Okay, I know you have a hole because you were just on there a second ago. Can't find it. These holes in these chips can be really difficult to find. Okay. Let's see. We don't have a whole lot of flat ones, actually. That might be an issue. Let's see. Let's do him. I'm still trying to do this one. I know he has a hole in him because I just had him on the wire, or on the eye pin, but I cannot seem to find it at this moment. Okay, and this guy. Now, the flatter chips do look better for sure. I'm not going to have a ton of them. That's going to be an issue, I think. Let me put one more. Yeah, they do look better between these big beads, though. Okay. Well, that's kind of cool. So let's put on our other little rondelle, if I can find one that'll fit on here. That one would, but it jumped away. There we go. Okay, now we're just going to make a loop. Regular old, not wrapped loop. Bend that 90 degrees. I don't even need to trim this off because I'm down to the end of my wire. Take your round nose pliers and roll a loop back. Okay, so there we have a little link that's going to go up the side here of this situation. I may move this one up some. I think I would, and do something a little plainer right here. Let's check that out. So I do need one for the other side. Let me get one of these longer jump rings. Put a little rondelle on. Then your big bead. And let me see if I can find 3 more flat enough chips to make this match the other side. So there's one. Oh, come on now. 2. I need one more flat one. Here's a good one. Thought I picked him up. He jumped off too. I'm having trouble picking things up today. Is that him? He really needs to be tiny. Okay. And then this other big bead and our tiny rondelle. All right. And then we're just going to do the same thing. Make a loop here. This one I can trim off just a tad. It was a longer eye pin, I believe. All right, and roll this loop back. Okay, so there we have those 2 little connectors on either side. I need to do something a little daintier here for this starting out point, I think. So I'm just going to do a rondelle and a pearl. And then I may do 1 chip piece, a pearl, and a rondelle. And I think it might look better right here on the sides. So let's go ahead and make a loop. All right, and let's do the same thing on the other side. So tiny rondelle, 6mm pearl, 1 gemstone chunk, amethyst chunk, 1 more 6mm pearl, and 1 more tiny rondelle. Okay, and again, just going to make a loop. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to take a jump ring and we're going to open this up and we're going to insert both of these. So just like this, 1 and 2, and this piece of this link. We're going to close it up really good. You want to make sure that your jump ring is closed. Okay? Twist those up a little bit. All right. We're going to take the other jump ring and do the same thing on the other side. I don't know if I want to twist them there. That might cause the ring to twist over here. I'm just going to lay them side by side. I'm going to put this one on, and then the other one, and then this link. Make sure that closed up real good because I lost it. Okay. All right, so here's what we have with our little focal, and it's going to be cute when it's hanging up like this. Okay. All right, now we're going to use these bigger ones, and I'm just going to hook these directly to each other, these links. So this one onto this one. Make sure they're closed up good. I want to flip. There we go. Okay. the same thing over here. Okay, and here is what we've got so far. Okay, so now I can decide, do I want to continue and make another link? I think I do. I think I want to use some of these chips. I may actually make a pair of earrings to go with this too. So we'll put a tiny rondelle. I'm going to do the same thing I did down at the bottom, I think, with this. This one, or maybe not. Maybe I'll do something like this. No, don't really like that. Do a chip. Do a couple chips. Okay, like this. Yeah, and one more pearl and one more tiny rondelle. Okay. So that's how I'm going to do that one. And I'm going to just make the loop, same as I've been doing. Do the same thing for the other side. So I need a pearl. Nope, I need a rondelle. I need a tiny rondelle, then a pearl, then a couple of chips. It's like, how many did I do? Two chips. And then another pearl. And another tiny rondelle, which I'm about out of here. I'm going to have to get some more out, because that one's not going to go on there. Let me grab a couple more of these guys. Okay, come on now. Tell me nobody's going to go on there. There we go. All right, and then I'm just going to go ahead and make a loop, same as we've been doing. Okay, so here are our next two links to put on. Same thing I've been doing. My pliers are squeaking a little bit, if you can hear them. Okay, so here's what we've got. Now, I think I'm just going to take the Coriana chain now and go up the side. So I have to decide how long I want this to be. Let me zoom back out. Whoops, out, not in. Okay. So I'm going to hold it up to myself here. I really kind of want it to lay up a little bit, kind of around the collarbone, not really hanging down too much. So I think one of these pieces of chain is going to be fine cut in half. Let me see here. Yeah, I think that that will be actually maybe too much. Maybe not. I'm going to go ahead and cut it in half. Okay, and then to attach this onto this, you need your clamshell covers. So 2 clamshells and 2 crimp beads. Okay, and the way to do this is super simple. You just take your wire or your chain and put it through your clamshell, through the bottom, and then you just put your crimp bead on. Okay, then you take your pliers and you just smash your crimp bead down. And you do it kind of firm, but you don't have to, don't do it so hard that you're going to cut your wire with your bead. And then you close this right up. Give it the tug test. Okay, it's good and secure. So now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to hook this directly onto here. Just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Clamshell cover on. And then my little crimp bead. And then I'm just going to take this and mash it down. Pull my clamshell down and tug, and it's secure, and you can just even close those up with your fingers if you want. Okay, I'm going to attach this right on. Okay, make sure those are closed up good. And hold this up on yourself and see if it's... Okay, so it's too long. I'm going to cut a couple pieces of the chain off. I'm going to cut quite a bit off, actually. And I saved these scrap pieces. I can use them for... I'm going to come way down here. I can use them for tassels or all kinds of other things. So when I cut that off, that leaves me at just about a little over 5 inches, almost 5.5. Okay, and let me hold it up again. See, I want this to be shorter. I don't want this to be a really long necklace. That's going to be perfect. Okay, so then to finish this off, we do the same exact thing that we did on the bottom. We take our clamshell and put our chain through, put our crimp bead on, mash that down, pull this up and tug, make sure it's secure, and close it. Same thing on this other side. Go ahead and close that up, or crimp that down, I mean, and then close this up. Tug it, it's good. You could put a dab of V6000 in those two, in the little clamshells too, if you wanted. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't. It just depends. If I'm keeping the necklace, I probably won't, just because I don't, worry too much about if it breaks on me. I'll just fix it. But if I'm giving this to somebody or selling it, then I would definitely want to put some E6000 in there, just for the security. I made a necklace last night for someone, for a friend, for her birthday, and I put the E6000 in there because I don't want it to come apart on her while she's wearing it. Go ahead and put this one in. And we have our finished necklace. Okay, so here's our little lobster claw clasp. And here's our finished necklace. I think it turned out really cute. So let me put it on a form and I will be right back. Okay, so here is our finished necklace. Let me tip my light down here a little. There we go. So there's our focal with all of the dangles and pearls. And then we go up here and then up to our Coriana chain, which is just nice and sleek. So I think this turned out really pretty. I am liking it. I think I will probably keep it and wear it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will put the link for Cu'Rated Bead Box down in the description box below. I am not sponsored by them, so I do not get anything for this video. I just want you to realize that I just really like them. So that's why I am promoting them on my channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.